Los Angeles, it calls out to the brave with magic and tales of fame. Los Angeles Football Club take aim at a first Open Cup. World Cup winners, yes. Champions, you bet. The fans, the 3-2-5-2, ready to rile their heroes to victory. But, and there's always a but, there's Kansas City to consider. Old-fashioned, Wizards once, easy, right? Oh no, champions 4 times.
The Kansas City Wizards!
Never beaten in the Open Cup final. Sporting KC look west in hope their own dream of a 5th Open Cup crown, to take their place among long-ago legends like Bethlehem Steel, the marksmen of Fall River, LA's Maccabees. It's the 109th U.S. Open Cup final. Will it come tinted LAFC black and gold, or will KC paint the wall as they do Sporting Blue? Only one dream can come true.
The grandeur and circumstance of Los Angeles is the perfect setting to settle the champion of American soccer as we welcome you into the 109th final of the Lamar Hunt U.S. Open Cup. LAFC are stumbling into this final and are looking to put past final failures to bed and secure their first trophy in this tournament. Meanwhile, the challengers from the Heartland might as well be playing for their entire season tonight after being eliminated from postseason contention and are looking for a record 5th piece of Lamar Hunt hardware. And for both of these sides, challenging, albeit successful semifinal ventures. For Sporting Kansas City, they put the Cinderella story to bed. That was Sean McCauley's Indy 11. Meanwhile, for LAFC, yet another victory over Brian Schmetzer's Seattle Sounders. And we welcome you into the broadcast booth here at BMO Stadium. Tyler Terrence along with the incomparable Devin Kerr. Jillian Sakovits will be with us in just a moment. And Devin, every player's dream, the one reason you lace them up is to play in moments like this. And while it might be an all-MLS final, there is a bit of a David and Goliath feel to this one.
It's unique in nature for me, though, having both of these teams qualified for CONCACAF Champions Cup due to previous results. But for each individual team as well. Sporting Kansas City eliminated from MLS postseason contention, and what is most certainly the last dance for this core group of players that has been together for 7 years, trophyless in that time frame. This is the last opportunity for hardware for Tim Melia and co. LAFC, 2 words, form and momentum. We are entering the most important area of the season, and they are lacking both. But guess what? Once again, we're having the conversation in times of need of someone who isn't, and that's Denny Bouanga in the final third. Everybody talks about goals for Denny Bouanga, and while I can respect that, to me it's much more. It's a presence. It's a level of consistency that every single night the performance is up to the standard and further. 16 times he scored in back-to-back games for this LAFC team.
And Jillian Sakovits was able to catch up with the talisman ahead of tonight.
Denny, another big game for LAFC. How much pressure is this team feeling to lift a trophy at home tonight?
I think no pressure at home. Is the 5 final. I hope to win in the stadium, and no pressure.
You've had an incredible connection this season with Mateusz Bogusz. You two are tied for a league best 31 combined goals. That's pretty good company. It's equal with Lionel Messi and Luis Suarez. What allows you two to be so good?
It's too easy for play with Mati because Mati is a good player. He smell good in the field, and in the field is good. Me and Mati, and that's it.
And Devin, it's no secret what Denny Bouanga and Mateusz Bogusz have been able to do is they've been tormenting North America. But since the addition of World Cup winner and all-time leading goal scorer in French national team history, Olivier Giroud came to town and hasn't been as straightforward.
It's a different profile of player. It's that simple. Understanding what the tendencies of one player are compared to what a front line once was. but this is still one of the most potent attacks in all of Major League Soccer and certainly North America. And they've been able to get some bright lights out of that, yes, before Olivier Giroud's arrival. But I'm looking at Mateusz Bogusz here. We talked about the left side of the flank for LAFC. Bogusz on the right. A revelation is the word that Steve Cherundolo used to talk about him. It's the 8, it's the 9, the 10 if wanted to be, the winger. Yes, he affects the match, the scoreline, and for a team that's only got 4 goals in their last 5 games, this is a guy that I look for in chance creation for LAFC tonight.
Meanwhile, Eric Tommy actually made his debut against LAFC back in July of 2022, and since arriving, Devin, most of what Peter Vermees has been trying to accomplish runs through him, whichever position he's playing.
We discussed a different profile for the 9. I would say that every piece around him this year in Eric Tommy has moved on the Sporting Kansas City team. That's backline, that's the attacking unit. He's remained constant. He's got such incredible vision, but I'm looking for more. I think there's another gear there from Eric Tommy that we have not seen yet, and he said that this is the most important game he's played for the Sporting Kansas City team up for the Cup final. We've heard that before from Tim Melia, one of only 2 players remaining from that 2017 Sporting Kansas City U.S. Open Cup title. We asked him if this was the end of his tenure, and he said, no, I've got a little bit more in me. But what it would mean for me and this group to be able to send us out on top, even though the season hasn't gone the way that we planned.
And Jillian was able to catch up with the 11-year man earlier as well.
Tim, you know what it takes to win an U.S. Open Cup final. You're the only guy out on the field tonight to do it twice. What is it going to take for Sporting Kansas City to do it against LAFC?
It's going to take all of us, and it's going to take all of us to have our best game. We're coming in here as the underdog. We understand that. We know how good they are, but it's one game. It's one night. It's 90 minutes. We just got to do everything we can to walk out of here with a win.
You've all been very open that this season for Sporting Kansas City did not go as planned. What would a trophy do?
Silver lining, right? This season has not gone anywhere near the way that we drew it up. But at the end of the day, if you had asked us before the season started, and you're in CONCACAF and you're walking away with a trophy, a lot of guys would have signed that piece of paper.
All the pomp and circumstance that you could ask for. Gold medalist Michael Johnson is the Falconer here at BMO Stadium. History will be made tonight in Los Angeles. Don't go anywhere. That's what's on the line here tonight at BMO. The Lamar Hunt U.S. Open Cup, and it is accompanied by a few members of the LA Kickers who won this competition back in the late 1950s. as we continue to honor our past. And for LAFC, the last final that they won was right here in Los Angeles, and they took down the Philadelphia Union in one of the most epic finals we've ever seen. 2022 MLS Cup champions, but it has been rather bare since Carlos Vela and company hoisted that trophy. 0 for 4 to be more specific over the past couple of years. And Devin, if you're thinking about this club and you're thinking about what they set out to accomplish when they came into Major League Soccer in 2018, a lot of this has gone well, but as of late, a lot of negativity surrounding the club, or so you would think.
Steve Cherundolo is trying to flip that narrative, right? Remove all the white noise and keep his guys focused on the task at hand, being very proud of what they were able to accomplish, getting to all of those finals. Yes, not able to lift it, but he said, we want to control the controllables. And what we can control right now is our momentum and our ability to take advantage of what is going to be the next 90 minutes, not looking in the rearview mirror in the process.
Meanwhile, Sporting Kansas City, an illustrious past to say the least. 2000 Major League Soccer Cup champions under Tony Meola. Jimmy Nielsen, of course, helped them lift the U.S. Open Cup back in 2013. Tim Melia, Daniel Shallowy were, of course, a part of that 2017 U.S. Open Cup winning side. And Devin, this Sporting side is looking to do something that no other Major League Soccer team has done, and that's win 5 of these in this competition.
Well, certainly you want to be at the top of that heap, right? But I think it's much further than that, and it goes back to the core group of players, guys like Tim Melia, your Shallowys, your Johnny Russells. They feel like they have a real responsibility to this club and what has been to the fans and the lackluster performance over the past 24 months.
Well, we are getting set for what should be a fantastic night, and we continue on to the past of the U.S. Open Cup.
Manfred Norstad. Please give them a big round of applause.
American champions, that is what's on the line here in the City of Angels. The 109th final of the Lamar Hunt U.S. Open Cup is just moments away. Starting 11s and kickoff right after this.
LA, get on your feet. It's now time for the final.
LA, let's go.
LAFC and Sporting Kansas City for the right to hoist the Lamar Hunt U.S. Open Cup. BMO Stadium is the location. Tyler Terrence along with Devin Kerr as we continue to roll through the pregame celebrations of what should be a fantastic night of soccer here in the City of Angels.
And welcome Brian Justin Crum to perform the Star-Spangled Banner.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets' red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave.
An anthem befitting of a final. Sporting Kansas City, the visitors, in their blue kits. LAFC in their classic black with the gold trim. And we are very much at the business portion of the evening. And the 32-52, as always, boisterous, loud, and some of the best supporters that you will find in North America. Now we'll take a look at the starting 11. Devin Kerr, obviously a very well-rested LAFC group after heavy rotation in Dallas over the weekend, but a slight tweak here from Steve Cherundolo.
The biggest idea within this change into the three is about mobility on the back four and his fear of what could be a very speedy Sporting Kansas City team. As you move forward, he talked about the transitional moments, and he feels like they need to go lateral before they go vertical to shift this Sporting Kansas City squad. But chance creation and game management at a premium, that's the area they've lacked in the most over these past couple of matches.
Look at our refereeing crew for this evening. Armando Villarreal, the 38-year-old, is going to be the main man in charge, and he is flanked by Justin Howard and Jeffrey Creason, while Victor Rivas is your fourth official. And a couple thousand miles away in the VAR facility in Arlington, Texas, Jose Carlos Rivero is going to be the chair of the Committee of Ambiguity and in charge of any dicey decisions this evening. Meanwhile, the starting 11 for the challengers, Peter Vermees and Sporting Kansas City. Devin.
You want to keep an eye on the outside, certainly with Logan and Dembe and Kyrie Shelton, their ability to thwart off those attacks in the transitional moments. It is about athleticism for Peter Vermees' decision-making tonight. Not just at the outside back spot, but what you get in the relationship with Zoran Basong and Jace Davis within the midfield. He alluded to that 3-0 victory against Orlando City and what those two are capable of. But I'm watching Alan Polito and his ability to shift that back three for LAFC just in front of that back line in the pocket. That allows the width to explode going forward.
Sporting Kansas City continue to try to find the right recipe. A group that just this past weekend eliminated from postseason contention in league play at the hands of Eric Ramsey and Minnesota United. Meanwhile, for that man in LAFC, a lot of wrongs to be right here at home. 0 for 4 in their last 4 finals. Haven't hoisted a trophy since that 2022 MLS Cup. And boy, was that a sweet victory, but this is a club whose aspirations are higher than just simply getting to finals. They're here to win them. They're here to dominate them. Ryan Hollick said in the middle of the huddle for LAFC, won this competition with FC Dallas in 2018. Will the ghosts of finals past haunt this group of black and gold, or will it be Sporting Kansas City looking for a record-setting 5th trophy in this competition, seemingly playing for the entirety of their season here tonight in Los Angeles? And Armando Villarreal gets us underway from BMO Stadium. We invite you to turn off the world and turn on the game. A champion will be had here in Los Angeles, as it is Sporting Kansas City and LAFC in the 109th final of the Lamar Hunt U.S. Open Cup. Tyler Terrence along with Devin Kerr, and the third member of our crew, and our eyes and ears down at field level is Jillian Sakovitz. And we are thrilled you could join us here on Apple TV. And right off the bat, the black and gold looking to get out and run through Denny Bwanga, but the offside flag is up. Devin, with everything that we've covered during the pregame show and everything that these two clubs have been through this season, how do we see this one shaking out?
Well, if you're Peter Vermees, he's very clear about the fact, and I agreed with that, you can't allow the physical side to get in the way. You can't allow your emotion to get in the way. And instead, set that tone on your own, right? They feel like it's actually a benefit to them being away from Children's Mercy Park, given the way that the season has gone on, to eliminate the noise like the 30-52. Let's see how that looks on the road in the early portion of this match. And I would say a very similar conversation is had for LAFC, and just about the belief that regardless of the last 5 games where you couldn't pick up a win, or the last 4 cup finals where you couldn't get a result, that this is an incredibly talented team that has still given themselves another opportunity at a piece of silverware. Have belief early on and go push yourselves to victory.
LAFC dropped yet another game in league play heading into this final. Lost to Peter Luxon's FC Dallas in Frisco by a score of 3-1, but a heavily rotated side. 7 changes were made from their 1-1 draw against Austin a game earlier, as this is sent over the top for Ryan Hollingshead. Watched carefully here by Kyrie Shelton, and it's good defending from the Oregon State product, who's filled in nicely over the past several weeks at the right back position. Now here's Alan Pulido, the ever-dangerous Mexican striker who they brought in a few years ago. Necessarily hasn't been the output that they've been looking for, but make no mistake about it, when he does get an opportunity, and they have been few and far in between, he is quite the talisman. And there is the win probability heading into tonight. Bookmakers have LAFC as heavy favorites. 5-1 long shots for Sporting Kansas City to win this game outright. And Pulido able to find the skipper, Johnny Russell, in the middle of the park. Working with the likes of Zoran Basong, who gets a start in this championship match as well. A little dicey for a moment from Robert Bulliner, but able to scurry away from pressure. This is clean here from Sporting. Davis, Pulido, and Tommy stands it up. Not a bad looking ball, and an early touch for Hugo Lloris. And he's attempting to go quickly, in a rare miscue from the World Cup winner in 2018. Johnny Russell trying to get position on Ryan Hollingshead. Should be a good matchup to watch, as Hollingshead, of course, able to play on either side of that back line for Steve Cherundolo. Dinked over the top for Bwanga. Trying to chop up Kyrie Shelton. Again, the makeshift right back able to do well with one of the best goal scorers that Major League Soccer has to offer. And right now, even though it's only been 2 occasions thus far, Devin, advantage to Kyrie Shelton.
Well, the word revelation was used for Bogusz on one side, but the growth pattern that we've seen for Kyrie Shelton.
Good ball over the top. Shalaway trying to bring it down, and a good challenge from Eddie Segura. And it needed to be as Lloris was off of his line, but an excellent look for the homegrown product for Sporting Kansas City.
Yeah, at the outside back position for Sporting Kansas City has allowed moments like this where quickly picked up on the defensive front due to his athletic ability. And then the quick distribution coming off of the back line. I recognize this in terms of confidence for Sporting. Johnny Russell and Daniel Shalaway are at their best right now. It's been a very slow start to the year, but neither of the two lacking confidence at the moment.
First corner of the night in favor of the visitors, and some organizing to do for Maxime Chenot, Hugo Lloris and the like. In swinger from Tommy, met by Lewis O'Brien. This one intended for Tommy, a thumbs up of approval. And Devin, Steve Cherundolo was adamant with us heading into this game, and with most of the media who continue to ask the question of, is there something wrong with this group? Are the ghosts currently haunting this team as far as getting to finals and losing them? And he said, we don't view it that way. Trying to put a positive spin on it, trying to basically say they're not connected. And on top of that, that they're proud of what they've been able to do, as Buller gets bailed out by the whistle of Armando Villarreal.
I look at it in a good way as sort of a defense mechanism, protecting his team. Right, because of everything that goes on social media, certainly the pundits in the background, and what has produced, unfortunately for them, some not so great results. But if you take a look at the performances overall, they haven't been terrible. Now, certainly the first half against Columbus Crew in Leagues Cup final is a conversation to be had. But outside of that, they've been right there. You know, they haven't been played off the park, and they're producing at a high level still. The biggest question is still the final third and what this front three looks like. Other than that, promote confidence, positive mentality to allow your team to have some real motivation and success going into this final.
Here's Palencia. And Jake Davis, another homegrown product, able to defend the speedy Spaniard and then concedes a corner in the process in the first of the night for the black and gold. Set pieces can always be the X factor in a final such as this. It will be an outswinger from the Polish international, Matej Bogusz. Free header, then cleared away by Logan Ndembe as he was stationed at the near post, and that's exactly what you would like that player to do. Be alert and just simply get it out of trouble. Referee says play on. Bogusz keeps it low. And the challenge from Sporting Kansas City again needed to be there from Robert Vuller as the German gets a touch to it, and another corner for LAFC.
And the argument is it's from behind on Logan Ndembe. One of the things that you'll notice about 8 minutes into this match is how aggressive this front line is, allowing Palencia and Hollingshead to come high. It's making Sporting Kansas City go a little bit more direct than they'd like to be. Certainly possessionally oriented to find success. Second and third balls is an area that Steve Cherundolo also very clear about they needed to be key in. Back out for Bogusz. Able to stand it up. Giroud looking to battle for position. Hollingshead in the neighborhood. And then eventually cleared away by Castellanos. Sporting Kansas City right now doing a good job of defending and making sure that LAFC can't really settle into a rhythm. There's Logan Ndembe on the turn and threading it through for Shalaway. Early ball intended for Polito. It gets through. Here's Polito! And Hugo Lloris for the first time tonight called into real action. You and I, in the lead up to this match, Tyler, we were talking about selection in the 9 position and whether it would be Agata or Polito. And I looked right at you and I said, I actually think Polito's the better option because of his ability to be mobile and shift this team side to side and how comfortable he is in that pocket just in front. It keeps that back 3 guessing. You're so accustomed to him going and getting the ball to feed and others to play off of him. And then at a moment's notice, spins off the back shoulder. Beautiful ball in. Excellent save by Lloris. In-swinger this time from Johnny Russell. Trying to challenge Lloris, but easy enough for the Frenchman. Here's Timothy Tillman, really for the first time tonight. Of course, a member of the U.S. men's national team, brother of Malik Tillman. Maxime Chanot has been such a welcome presence along the back line for Steve Cherundolo, of course, a MLS Cup winner with NYCFC in 2021. Part of that epic final at Providence Park where they were able to beat Portland in penalties. Hollingshead finding Lewis O'Brien in a nice pocket of space. Bogusz, Bouanga. O'Brien should be onside here. Gets the delivery away. Melia off his line, and the offside flag just barely goes up on the near side. Kyrie Sheldon. Zoran Basong. 24-year-old originally from Toronto, moved to Montreal. Peter Vermees loving the aggressive nature of the duo of Jake Davis and Basong, referencing a Orlando City win 3-0 a number of weeks ago in which both of them performed beautifully, and hoping that they can have a similar effect on this game. Mucking up what LAFC is trying to do, in the words of Peter Vermees, is Polito able to get the nutmeg through Maxime Chanot. And now here's Eric Tommy, back for the Mexican who left something behind. Ndembe. And LAFC have struggled with a couple of these moments in the early going and trying to break the initial repress from Sporting. This time able to do so successfully. Hollingshead, early delivery for Giroud, and just over the head of their number 9. Yeah, the moments though, both for Sporting Kansas City and LAFC, though, Tyler, are coming via Polito and Bogusz. You want to keep an eye on the freedom that they've given Bogusz with the switch. Bouanga to the near side, Bogusz to the far side. The way that he overloads on the middle quickly becomes a 3v2. And they're having a little bit of trouble in terms of marking and communication. Zoran Basong and Jake Davis, as well as some assistance from Eric Tommy in front. Quick turnovers, and then they goat them into that decision. And Peter Vermees, you listen to him talk about the makeup of this LAFC team. He says they're going to bait us, and we know they are. But 2 consecutive trips to the opposite end of the field have all been about Bogusz off the front line into the midfield. Good space on the outside, and recognizing that to quickly step into.
Some more soft pressure here from Sporting. And if you are Peter Vermees, you have to be thrilled with how the first 13 minutes have gone or so. Eric Tommy, Alan Polito just trying to shape out LAFC and perhaps shepherd them into a specific area. And an errant pass from Denny Bouanga. And there's not many people who love this competition more than that man, Peter Vermees. 4-time U.S. Open Cup champion. 3 as a coach, 1 as a player. And now in his 16th season in charge of Sporting Kansas City. We asked him the question of what would this mean amongst all the trophies that he has won as both a player and a coach. None of them are directly connected. He doesn't want to rank them, but he says it is at the top of his list of things to do in this world is hoist a trophy. As Bouanga's header goes awry for a moment. Valencia following up, and Jake Davis trips him up. And a dangerous set-piece opportunity here for LAFC.
That's a mistake by Jake Davis. He doesn't need to provide any sort of physical presence, especially with the coverage by Ndembe over the shoulder. Yes, the initial challenge had come in, but if he stands him up there, he's got the ability on the immediate recovery from Ndembe to stay 2v1. You keep the game in front of you, right? Instead, you've slowed this down and allowed LAFC deadly set piece opportunity. About 25 yards from net.
Denny Bouanga. Good header from Volader. Tillman takes it on the first time. This might stay in play here for Aaron Long. It does. Trouble here for Sporting. Bogusz takes it on the first time and sends it into the fourth row. And there is a notable absence for LAFC. No Edouard Atuesta in the starting 11 or available off the bench. And for more on that, let's go down to Jillian Sakovic.
LAFC telling me it's precautionary. He picked up a leg injury in Saturday's 3-1 loss to Dallas, where Atuesta was LAFC's lone goal scorer.
Obviously a wealth of options for Steve Cherundolo for Atuesta's replacement. And electing to go with Lewis O'Brien, getting just his 5th start. Here's Eric Tommy. Decent looking ball for Polito. Long needed to be sharp. Back for Polito again. Russell. Well done by Ryan Hollingshead to stay with Russell, who everybody in the building knew he was trying to come back on his left foot. Bouanga, unstoppable. One-man press breaker. And he wants it back. And again, Kyrie Shelton is doing a magnificent job. But so is Denny Bouanga.
He's just so deep. You know, this is probably one area that he's not given enough credit for, is his advancement on the defensive side to help out and then quickly turn and bring the attack the other direction. But immediately met with resistance by Kyrie Shelton, whose growth pattern is also quite remarkable. And he mentioned Atuesta and just being careful. It's a great problem to have, fixture congestion, which all of these opportunities and finals and things of that nature, but it's still a problem nonetheless. And trying to find a way to continue to create chemistry, it's been near impossible, Steve Cherundolo says, because of the fact that it's basically rest and recovery. It's a couple of days, no real training to be able to work on tactical things. And I know everybody at home is probably thinking, oh, woe is me, nobody really cares. You should, because the evolution of this team resides on the ability to actually get through those tactical sessions to promote positive play. They haven't had a chance to do that.
Outside of playoffs this season, LAFC are going to have competed in nearly 100 games, including last year. Here's Lewis O'Brien, loanee from Nottingham Forest. Again, able to get the cross away, but again, Robert Volader is stationed well at the near post. A bit awkward there from the German. Looked like it might have come off his hand, but Armando Villarreal thought differently. Ndembe. Volader up the line, hoping to find Eric Tommy, only finding ahead of Aaron Long. And Jake Davis a bit too handsy, and Peter Vermees towards the edge of his technical area, not thrilled with the call.
Physicality certainly is an issue early on in this, is it? Both teams up for it. Say a little bit more an offensive side for Sporting than Peter Vermees would like, though to be clear, the chance creation hasn't been really great for LAFC.
And that's been the story with them over the past few weeks, and particularly coming out of Leagues Cup after that loss again to the Columbus Crew in a final in a massive game. And while we all know Steve Cherundolo's comments, Devin, in terms of how he's going to view it and how the club views this problem, is there a problem with LAFC right now?
Certainly the mental side of things are going to creep into players that have experienced the letdown 100%. Right, Olivier Giroud is only a part of that Leagues Cup final, but everybody else wearing the black and gold tonight, they've been there. And as a player, that sits with you. You know, whether it's against one opponent, whether it's in big games, these are things that they sit in the back of your mind, and to eliminate them is near impossible. But, you know, you go back to the tendencies of players, which we addressed coming in, the addition of Olivier Giroud. His profile, okay, if he's coming in, if he's going up high, We've seen that from Bogusz as well, but now you're combining Bogusz and Giroud and Bowanga, a flattened out midfield and a 4. These are all things that you change one, maybe two, okay. You start to change a ton of different items. It's very difficult to maintain consistency.
And right now, Sporting are trying to maintain LAFC. This is stood up towards the back post, and Dembe got a head to it. It'll stay in the neighborhood for Bogusz. O'Brien, back for Bogusz. And Jake Davis able to stand him up. Now 20 minutes in, and the only real chance thus far generated by Sporting Kansas City. A half volley taken by Alan Polito that required a relatively straightforward save as far as Hugo Lloris's standards are concerned, but still needed to be sharp. As Eddie Segura with a timely intervention. Bogusz, well defended again by another fullback for Sporting Kansas City, this time Logan Ndembe. Just making his 3rd start since returning fully from that ACL tear that he suffered in that famous first-round win against St. Louis City in last year's postseason in Major League Soccer. Shalaby with a nice little stutter step and able to blow by Segura. Looked like it might have been intended for Polito. And broken up by Maxime Chanot. 20 minutes in, who do you get the edge to?
Well, it certainly has to be LAFC. It's not a question, just the positional aptitude of every single player, the freedom that Cherundolo's giving them. You know, get away from the front line here for a second. Yes, we've seen Bogusz drop into the middle, but you know, the ability by Lewis O'Brien and Tillman, the way that they're pinching off of each other, all of a sudden Hollingshead bumps himself up and quickly becomes a 6-man midfield, but then just as quickly the explosion coming the other direction. Great balance.
Hand of apology from Lewis O'Brien, whose errant pass halted that build up for the time being for LAFC. Of course, a couple of weeks ago for this group, the talk was heading into El Tráfico, if they had won that game against Greg Vanny's LA Galaxy, that they might have been able to crack on and win the #1 seed in the Western Conference. But now they're fighting for their lives in a top 4 spot in the Western Conference table as far as the postseason is concerned. And again, the concern continues to be, has that poor run of form coming out of Leagues Cup perhaps hindered their ability for chance creation, and now here in a U.S. Open Cup final to potentially lift another trophy? As Palencia not on the same page as Denny Bowanga, and Tim Melia will say thank you very much. Harvey Shelton trying to get on the better side of Mateusz Bogusz, but again, an excellent work rate from one of your more talented players for Steve Cherundolo. Tillman. Pickpocketed by Tommy. So clever in the open space is the German. The Canadian Bassong. Johnny Russell. Figured why not, and Lloris again needing to be sharp. Russell, of course, opened up the scoring against Indy 11 from a much closer distance than what we just saw, but the skipper never bashful from distance.
It's great that you're able to get a strike out of this, but this has been one of the issues that Sporting has been able, or I said should have been able to deal with all season long, is the lack of options coming forward. Eric Tommy, incredible job. Work rate defensively to pick up and then come the other way, but lack of personnel. And you've got Daniel Shalloway on the far side, Polito. But that's a 5v3 conversation for LAFC on the back line. Very easily handled. The attack quickly slows down, and that's been their MO. That's about commitment. I don't care if you're home or away. That's about the ability. When you pick up those moments, you have to move this line quickly.
In swinger from Russell again. Bassong was waiting for it. LAFC win it. Davis also not shy, and blocked by Denny Bowanga. Ndembe. Jake Davis with a deceptive turn. Bassong rather hopeful in the direction of Daniel Shalloway. And Giroud thought that Denny Bouanga was a little bit more advanced than he was. And again, trying to find that combination of Giroud, Bogusz, Bouanga, and getting them to click and run as the well-oiled machine that everybody knows that it can be at some point in time has been the struggle for Steve Cherundolo. And he said that the goal against Austin FC was exactly how they drew it up, and that's what they want. Giroud dropping in and having the pace and the physicality and the overall quality of Bouanga and Bogusz running off of the all-time leading goal scorer in the history of the French national team.
But doing it is one thing, but the execution after is very different. You can see the growing pains right in front of our eyes where when he's coming in, just the inability to recognize the exact location of some of the teammates around him, which is quite odd considering how fluid it has been between Bogusz and Denny Bouanga over the course of the season. That's not just an LAFC thing, though. We've seen that through a couple of squads around Major League Soccer that have struggled in a very similar aspect. RSL's another one, right? Gomez gone, and then quickly you add in a few new players. Pablo Mastroeni took them a couple of matches to get it going. They've turned results around now, but it certainly wasn't overnight.
Dembe got it away before Segura could get a touch to it. Valencia, again, showing tremendous sagacity to be able to read the play. And that innate instinct of the Barcelona native. And the commentator's curse in full effect as he gives away the ball. And the throw-in belongs to Sporting Kansas City. Team Chenot getting on the better side of Polito. And then one by Tillman. Bouanga trying to help it along. Bogusz a little bit off the pace there. And Eric Tommy was attempting to find Alan Polito. And again, the transitional moment for Sporting Kansas City dealt with ease. Segura. Bouanga. Much better here from LAFC. Bouanga able to get away from Bassong and then just sheds off Jake Davis. And LAFC won a foul on Bouanga, who's going to stay down. Poor giveaway there from Davis. Bouanga still writhing around in pain. Bit of a hospital ball across the middle of the field from O'Brien, and now things opening up here for Sporting. Shelton striving forward, and now cut out by Aaron Long as the pass was a little bit too soft for Eric Tommy. And it hasn't been all that clean from either side, Devin. There's still some nerves at play here.
That's being polite. Let's just be very clear that we talk about teams not necessarily lacking confidence, but quality on the ball is something that is certainly escaping both of them. Decision making, cleanliness of it.
Russell, Polito running ahead of him. Shallowy back for Russell, just trying to keep it alive. And then Polito committing the foul.
The understanding of each individual moment, Tyler, for both of these teams. Take a look at just a second ago. You were talking about the exchange in the midfield between Olivier Giroud and Denny Bouanga. Quickly isolate the space on the outside and move to the far flank. Hollingshead is starting to step there. Why not play that ball instead? It's a little bit slow, and that's allowing this Sporting team to slow down, to get behind the ball and keep the attack in front of them. Now, this is another one of those growing pain things that we've referenced where you can figure out tendencies for players, but decision-making has to be better for both squads.
Hugo Lloris on a dime for Palencia. Bogusz can't get it past Russell.
The same thing, though. You take 5 touches when one will do. A 30-yard ball to the far side, Hollingshead, and instead you've taken away another opportunity to move yourself forward. And again, you allow Sporting to recover. Really well done, by the way. They're doing great defensive transitions, the way that they're stepping back personnel-wise, holding good structure. But there's just no need for a turnover in that spot.
While it might be poor at the moment from LAFC, full credit to Sporting Kansas City, who continue to stay committed defensively, get back behind the ball when they have to. Bulliter looking to just send one into the channel, and was never going to find either Ndembe or Eric Tommy. The challenge, though, from Tommy, providing Segura with a few different problems here. Giroud trying to cushion it down for Bogusz, and Bogusz wanting a dangerous play on Davis, who led with his studs, and now Russell attempting to split both Hollingshead and Lewis O'Brien. And now Bouanga isolated again with Kyrie Shelton. Bouanga, Bogusz, big time block there from Logan Ndembe. Half an hour gone and another corner to the black and gold.
It's cleaner. You actually had Lewis O'Brien in transition on the far side, but on the inversion here, great vision by Denny Bouanga. And this touch right there, Bogusz is actually trying to bring this ball back across. You can see the frustration by Bouanga on the diagonal inside the top of the 18, but the ability on a dive. Beautiful little turn back across Logan Ndembe on the recovery run. You know, his addition back into this squad was needed. It was an absolute necessity, as good as Tim Leibold has been over the course of the year, and certainly the last couple of matches. Logan Ndembe gives you a different dimension on both sides of the ball, represented perfectly in that moment.
Another outswinger from Bogusz, free header for LAFC, and Timbelia able to gobble it up despite the handball claims from LAFC.
I wonder at what point in time if they try and go an alternate route here, as opposed to just that isolated ball. Penalty mark to the back stick. Redirect all the way back across. A little bit cute, top of the 18.
Giroud. Bouanga. Carried away by Melia. And it feels like right now Sporting are going to get themselves in trouble. It's going to be those giveaways when they are expanding and trying to build out of the back. And the noise continues to expand from the 32-52. Providing an electric atmosphere befitting of a final. Met by the center back Castellanos, inserted into this back line for Peter Vermees, knowing that this might be a bit of a track meet and knowing that he was going to need some speed. Giroud trying to get it away for Bouanga. Hand of apology. And the offside flag is up on Sporting.
I would say the defensive side has certainly rung true for them on the athletic side for Sporting Kansas City. The problem is they seem fearful coming the other way. I mean, how could you not with Olivier Giroud and Bouanga and Bogusz, and the list goes on and on, right? But at some point in time, you are going to have to be willing to commit a few more numbers forward. There have been moments. Just the idea of pushing personnel a little bit too high right now seems to be on the minds of Sporting players.
O'Brien on the turn. Back for Tillman. Tommy cushions it down for Shallowy. Now into space for Polito. Couple of late challenges there, the first of which on Alan Polito.
I don't really know what the argument is here from Aaron Long. There's certainly contact right there. right foot of Alan Polito. Numbers are one thing, but I'd say the few sequences that we've actually seen Sporting move themselves up high, I give credit to LAFC as well. More interested in certainly winning the numbers game coming high. Certainly the back line is aggressive as it is, but recovery quite impressive, not just from the back three. Palencia has been excellent this right-hand side so far.
Jake Davis getting stuck in on O'Brien, and now Sporting again trying to commit some numbers forward and generate something. Basong. And Tommy is fouled in a really dangerous spot here. And as expensive as LA can be, this is some prime real estate here for Kansas City.
You watch the body of Eric Tommy when he drops the shoulder. He's trying to create for his own right now. There's just not enough in terms of advancement from SKC in the finite moments that they've had. You have to imagine that given this distance, the opportunity of what would be either he or Johnny Russell on that magical one of a left foot of his.
There is the meeting of the minds. Polito, Tommy, Johnny Russell, 3 out of the 4 most expensive attacking players that Kansas City have to offer. And 2 fantastic options now as it's been dwindled down to Russell and Tommy. It is Russell, and it's into the wall. Number still available here for the visitors. Volader did well to get the cross away. And Castellanos will track it down. Polito rising for the header, met by Maxime Chenot.
See if they can keep this look right now. A little bit narrow. Johnny Russell, shallowy. Still retain the width if you get in Dembe and Kyrie Shelton to come a little bit higher. Also forces, like a heartbeat, you bring that midfield in a little bit, tighten up the back line. But again, this is about the ability to explode on the outside, Tyler. Just haven't had enough out on the wing for Sporting Kansas City. Certainly no distribution into the box.
And that was intended for Bouanga, and again, disarray for LAFC, particularly when they're trying to execute on those patterns. And let's head down to Jillian Sakovic, who has an update from Peter Vermees.
Peter Vermees told me he'd like to see 2 things from his side. 1, stop giving LAFC, in his words, all the time in the world. And 2, he wants to see better pressure in the middle third of the field.
Well, it's certainly going to come down to the fact that, we mentioned the numbers game. The amount of movement off the ball right now by Zoran Basong and Jake Davis, they're not going to be able to do it by their lonesome. And so it's twofold when you start to commit numbers forward a little bit higher. I asked for the inversion of the 2 outside midfielders. The outside backs come. That also creates more body on the inside. It eliminates the ability for LAFC when they're picking up some of these possessional moments to play through the middle, clogs it up, get rid of those passing lanes, and then force them to be a little bit more direct. Allow your big back line to come and win some of these balls and then pick up and come the other way.
More pass there from Tillman. Straight to the feet of Eric Tommy, and now here's Ndembe. Shallowing through O'Brien. Looking for the curler, but that was always going to have to be a spectacular effort to beat Hugo Lloris. Now Russell. Davis. Didn't sense where the pressure was coming from in the form of Mateusz Bogusz, and then Danny Bouanga gives it away. And Right now it's a comedy of errors from both sides, and eventually LAFC will put a foot on the ball and calm some things down. And last touch came off of Giroud as he was on his backside next to Peter Vermees, who's offering a helping hand.
No harm, no foul. Done by the referee on the contact point as well for Olivier Giroud. Certainly a Sporting ball just a little bit quicker here to try and move this LAFC squad. And he talked about giving them all the time in the world. When you have it on your end, that doesn't necessarily mean you have to take it because of this right here. They quickly step on you. You could have gone the other direction. Now they've locked you in.
How good is that from Logan Ndembe? Pulido trying to switch the point of attack through Kyrie Shelton. And Robert Volader will be the first one to tell you that's not his shining moment of the evening.
Thought that was you on Sunday.
Now.
Flashbacks.
If it was on my left, it wouldn't look like that. If it was on my right, it would. Bouanga spinning away from Basong. Still Bouanga blazing past Shelton. Giroud and a big save from Tim Melia. Well, that was the best moment of the first half, and Tim Melia up to the task.
Kyrie Shelton had done a really good job the past couple of trips down the field against LAFC of locking down the spots, but this one, he's just a little bit slow in his reaction point. As Basong rotates out, he has to go out and provide coverage sooner. You have to eliminate the threat of Denny Bouanga in that continued movement coming forward. The way that he shifts his body, it is incredible to watch him go from 0 to 60 in a moment's notice.
And that was the first time we've really seen Kyrie Shelton flat-footed and just totally beaten for pace by Bouanga.
But that's also part of the growing pattern, though, for an attacker that's working into an outside back spot, right? He sees a player in front of him and a body on Denny Bouanga, not necessarily what the second or third step needs to be for him. The recognition of that moment of what could be, right? It's the process of if this goes that way, if that plays out. It's no different than what's on in the final third. He just doesn't have the same amount of experience.
And for more on Kyrie Shelton, let's go back down to Jillian.
It takes a certain kind of player at 31 years old to make the change from the person scoring the goals to the guy trying to stop them, and he credits his military background. Shelton grew up on a military base in Germany. He prides himself on learning and listening. He says no matter what, growing up, he always listened to the instruction that all the other players were getting on the field. So Peter Vermees knew that his work ethic had what it took to make the change, and that combined with the fact that he has stellar 1v1 abilities and a comfort on the ball has impressed Peter Vermees. And Tim Melia added, he's a guy that everyone on the team is rooting for because he will do whatever it takes to be on the field.
Well, Shelton continues to deal with Denny Bouanga and company the best that he knows how. And yellow card for the first time tonight will be seen by Johnny Russell as he goes into the book. Just a few minutes until the halftime whistle.
A little surprised that Johnny Russell actually pulls out of this. Thought he had the ability to get there. He read it almost immediately. Saw the angle, but just before he steps into your screen, he actually pulls up, takes away some of the speed, gets himself into trouble.
So Russell will have to be just a bit more careful heading into future challenges for the remainder of tonight. And as we're knocking on the door of halftime, Tim Melia having to make one impressive save, sliding to his right, denying Olivier Giroud after Denny Bouanga had beaten most of the right-hand side of the Sporting defense. Meanwhile, Hugo Lloris's work has been rather straightforward as a couple of efforts from distance have been directly at the French international as Lewis O'Brien skips away from the initial challenge. Now here's Bogusz and Palencia. Bouanga. Hollingshead making that little underlapping run that he has become almost famous for in this league, and he's able to win a corner out of it. 2018 champion in this competition with FC Dallas, part of that trade. That was a straight swap with Marco Farfan, sending Marco to Nico Estevez and company until, of course, he was dismissed this season. And at the moment, unconfirmed, no stoppage time to round out this first 45 minutes in the 109th final of the Lamar Hunt U.S. Open Cup. And the corner is a poor one from Bogusz. Tommy taking off the ball. And that's going to do it for the first half. No breakthrough from either side in this Lamar Hunt U.S. Open Cup final. Tim Mealy with one big save to speak of. Meanwhile, for Hugo Lloris on the other side, again, rather straightforward work for a goalkeeper of his caliber. And right now, this game remains on a knife's edge. Johnny Russell frustrated with the yellow card that he saw in the final moments of the first 45 minutes. Denny Bouanga, of course, dangerous as ever. And Jillian Sakovic is with Sporting Kansas City's Peter Vermees.
Peter, no score on the road. How would you assess the first 45?
I think it was good. We expected them to come with a lot in the first 20, 25 minutes. I thought we did really well at that time. We were, at that time, also a little better on the ball. I think as the game went on, we weren't stringing enough passes together. So second half, we'll have to be a little bit better on the ball. But defensively, I think we've been pretty good. You
told us there's something special about when a trophy's on the line. Has anything surprised you so far?
No, I think the environment's great. I think both teams are playing with a lot of intensity. I think the second half is going to produce some different things in the second half.
Thanks, Coach.
Thank you.
Well, that man has never lost in a final in this competition. The club has never lost when they've gotten to this stage of the tournament. Right now, if you're Sporting Kansas City being the underdogs, you got to feel good about this one. LAFC and Sporting 0-0 at the half. Intermission here at BMO Stadium in the 109th final of the Lamar Hunt U.S. Open Cup. 0-0 is the score between LAFC and Sporting Kansas City as one of the two sides trying to make history in their own right. Tyler Terrence along with Devin Kerr. Glad to have you with us. Of course, Jillian Sakovitz continues to be our eyes and ears in between the two benches. And a rather sluggish start. What can we attribute that to?
I would say that for LAFC, they lacked a little bit of decision-making, right, because the opportunities were there, but they were able to create. That's the good news. For Sporting Kansas City, Peter Vermees talked about being brave. They seemed timid to me. And while certainly on the defensive front, they were very good and they were organized, they lacked a real commitment to be brave and go forward and commit into that attack.
So we'll take a look at how the first half unfolded, and a bit of a jarring first 5 or 10 minutes, as you can expect. Of course, we continue to honor the past of the tournament with that LA Kickers team. And Devin, first chance of the night goes to Sporting.
Alan Polito was great, and he was my first choice selection tonight as well. I'm glad Peter Vermees went with him, and it was the reason of being that back three. Now, whether it's a 2 or 3 is null and void at this point in time. It's the ability to get outside of the comfort zone, not be that high presence. But they did need a presence at times because when they started to move a couple of numbers forward, they didn't have enough pressure on the back line. And so the line of confrontation for LAFC was able to remain high, and the chances that Sporting got were pretty far from distance. Now, LAFC coming the other way. If you're Kyrie Shelton on this chance given up to Denny Bouanga, here's what you have to recognize. You keep him pinned up, you keep him back to goal, and you're 2v1 in support. You cannot allow that moment right there to get outside, get forward facing, and run at you. It's a mistake, but good news is you got one of the best in the business in Tim Melia, who's seen success in this tournament before, pushing it aside. Expected goals aren't that surprising in terms of LAFC, the 0.9, certainly the better of the two. I still feel between the two squads, it feels hesitant. Like, let's go through the motions, A to B. Take some chances here. No guts, no glory.
Well, right now, goose eggs read on the scoreboard, and something has to give here in the City of Angels. Maxime Chanot, Daniel Shallowy trying to have an impact for their respective clubs, but we're deadlocked at 0. No goals to speak of just yet in this final of the Lamar Hunt U.S. Open Cup. The 109th to be specific. LAFC and Sporting Kansas City 0-0. And while we might have a rather epic affair here on our hands in the City of Angels, meanwhile back in Columbus, Ohio, effectively the center of gravity in North American soccer. Campeones Cup between Club America and the Columbus Crew. And Devin, the new signing for Club America, Victor Davila, getting things started for the visitors.
Not just a new sighting, they actually brought him off the bench at halftime to inject some life into what was a flavorless attack, if you will, in the opening 45 minutes. What a move. And it's not that often that you see that scatterbrained of a back line with Wilfred Nancy and Columbus Crew. But the response, set-piece moments are always so vital in cup competition. Amundsen on the back post. What a redirect, but it would go from fortune to failure for Amundsen. 12 yards out, the spot, the woodwork, and defeat as you have the opportunity now for Club America at the tail end of things. Nesta Araujo, game.
Patrick Schulte got a couple of hands to it, but still could not keep it out, and Club America win the battle of the best of North America, the reigning champions of Mexico, and of course Major League Soccer, and it would be Club America who would hoist the trophy. And a little bit of revenge given the fact that Mexico didn't exactly have a good showing, that's putting it politely, in Leagues Cup. Here's a look at the previous champions of Campeones Cup. And Devin, this continues to be a competition that always yields a rather good soccer game towards the tail end of the season for the Major League Soccer calendar.
You're certainly looking for bragging rights, and that obviously has taken place for the Liga MX teams over the course of this competition. I would also say that people are quick to jump on LAFC and their failures. Friendly reminder that the Columbus Crew have lost 2 out of the last 3. They won Leagues Cup. But
we're going to go there.
I'm just saying. Okay. I just want people. Let's
the voice
be very
of
clear.
reason, Devin Kerr. That's how I'm introducing you from now on. Well, hopefully we'll get some goals in the second half. We will have a champion. That much is certain. LAFC and Sporting second half coming up next. Will it be LAFC winning their first trophy in this competition and putting an end to their finals woes as of late, or Sporting Kansas City painting the wall, particularly for a 5th time in the Lamar Hunt U.S. Open Cup? And Jillian Sakovic just a few moments ago was able to catch up with LAFC's Steve Cherundolo.
Steve, 45 minutes to go. What was your message at the break?
Yeah, to keep going. I think the tempo was good. I think the tempo suits us, especially at home. We had a lot of good moments, some small opportunities that didn't really pan out to create big chances, and could have been. I think we're misfiring a little bit in the final third, a little impatient, trying to go too fast to goal. I think it's going to take one more pass to break down their back four. And if we can achieve that in the second half, I think there's a goal out there for us.
Thanks, Coach.
Thank you.
And Devin, obviously, as we head into the second half, if you're Sporting Kansas City, forget the way that the first half went down. You probably would have signed up for 0-0 on the dotted line at halftime every single day of the week.
Not even a question, right? With as potent as this attack is for LAFC, which is hostile as this environment can be at BMO, and certainly the 32-52, as boisterous as they can be, they kept them quiet. They were consistent on the defensive side of the ball, and outside of a couple of little spots here and there, they did very well for themselves. But this is going to be a very different conversation in the second half. More energy from both teams for sure.
Well, the second half is officially underway. We are still waiting for our first goal. If we don't have one, of course, we will see extra time. And then if there still is no breakthrough or there is no separation of the deadlock, then we will head to penalties to decide the 109th champion of the Lamar Hunt U.S. Open Cup. Tyler Terrence, Devin Kerr, and Jillian Sakovic with you on this Wednesday night on Apple TV. And right off the bat, Mateusz Bogusz committing the foul. Outside of rather the slow start and some of the lack of cleanliness, was there anything that truly surprised you for the first 45 minutes?
It's interesting. Steve Cherundolo just said right there that he feels like it's one more pass to break down the back line. I would say that it's probably more than that in the moments that they have when they're condensed, but I actually think they need less when they're in the middle of the field. If you watch some of their moments, it's been 2, 3, or 4 passes to get there to the desired location. You don't need that, right? Laces on the ball 30 yards across the field because you have the Hollingshead, you have the Palencia. If you get pinned in, sure, the second and third touch are always great. But in those moments in the midfield, they need to be smarter and more decisive in their decision making.
Sporting Kansas City trying to win their first trophy since 2017 when they beat the New York Rebels by a score of 2-1. Daniel Shallowy had the game-winning goal in that affair. That, of course, was the same year that FC Cincinnati got all the way to the semifinals, and some would argue that that was the launching platform for their now Major League Soccer existence. Amelia, of course, was in goal for Sporting, was a part of that trophy, and of course the one prior, now in his 11th season wearing Sporting Kansas City blue.
Great step.
As Denny Bouanga skips around Kyrie Shelton, and another. And continues to be the shining light for Steve Cherundolo. Giroud shot for a handball as Johnny Russell is really slow to get to his feet on the right side of your screen, well behind the play. Russell grabbing onto the upper right part of his leg. Hollingshead attempting to thread the needle. Russell back into position, and we'll see if he'll be able to just shake it off and continue for Peter Vermees. As we'll continue to keep an eye on it, but he is laboring. Tommy. Never challenging Lloris and out of play. And Johnny Russell continues to struggle. Subs were already warming up for Sporting Kansas City.
Little stinger on the outside. There wasn't a ton in it in terms of contact, but right there, a little dead leg. Eddie Segura stepped up. Incidental contact into the pocket. He's slowly coming back to life. Johnny Russell.
Clever idea from Davis. Just showed a bit too much of it to Maxime Chanot. Chanot. Cool head from Kyrie Shelton. Goes all the way back to Tim Melia, who now is protecting the goal in front of the 32-52. Another cool head on the other side from Maxime Chenot as Hugo Lloris will scoop it up, and LAFC will now try to build out of the back and try to generate something in true possession here. We saw them do it just a couple of times in the first half, but most of their work was completed when they were able to turn Sporting over and space opened up rather organically rather than forcing the issue, as Bogusz making sure that Castellanos is away and is able to generate a corner for LAFC. This almost has the feeling of a game where a set piece is going to be the difference maker. Outswinger from Bouanga. Drew is up for it. Falls kindly for Bogusz, and Ndembe once again positioned beautifully at that near post for the visitors.
Emili was there as well. Just came across at a touch. Bogusz under that near post strike. You talked about maybe it's a set piece. It also has the feeling of one of those games, just a critical moment in general that isn't necessarily a goal itself.
Moment of brilliance or a blunder.
Exactly. You know, it's one of those ones where you've kind of seen it. We actually were a part of one here in May last year, the 1-1 draw, where it was kind of this knockdown, drag out, boring back and forth. Final 35 minutes were an absolute track meet between the two.
Game that probably should have finished about 4-4 between the two sides. The last couple of visits to BMO Stadium have been kind to Sporting. They've been able to pick up 2 points as Davis gets a little bit of daylight. Sends it halfway to Santa Barbara, though. Davis, of course, moving back into his position that he grew up with the Sporting Kansas City Academy through with the central midfielder role. Played over 30 games as a right back before eventually Kyrie Shelton took over. Shallowy got it away for Polito. Johnny Russell and Sporting Kansas City return to action this Saturday when they travel to St. Louis in a Midwest Showdown. That match is at 8:30 Eastern right here on MLS Season Pass. And Olivier Giroud and LAFC head to Cincinnati this Saturday when they take on Lucho Acosta. Hold that thought for a moment as Bogusz trying to lay it off for Palencia. And taken away by Robert Volader.
That's excellent defending from Chenot.
Bogusz should be outside. Melia caught in no man's land. It's Giroud! And it's the legendary Frenchman who might have just etched his name into American soccer history. 1-0 to LAFC.
Extensive conversation with Steve Cherundolo about moving into a 3. Sliding coverage efficiently and frequently. What a point of contact that is by Maxime Chenot, coming right up through the middle. And as quickly as you want to have the idea of committing numbers forward, you have to maintain that structure on the backside. Jake Davis tried to pop up into the pocket. Instead, should have shifted back out to the outside. What a recognized moment there through the midfield. It was a little bit tight on the far side of the field as to whether he was in an onside position or not. I can tell you that much. But a beautiful explosion, 30 yards and in. And then Denny Bouanga, as to whether or not he reestablished, Olivier Giroud, whether or not he reestablished himself into an onside position. And you want to watch 2 key areas here. Watch the far side of the field on the initial ball into Bogusz. That's very tight from that angle.
It does look like he's about half a step off, though.
It looks like he's about half a step off. Here's the other argument I would make. Because of the angle, Giroud's already in an offside position when the ball is played in. Does it affect the positioning of the players on the back line? Because he never reestablishes his position. And the ball itself, I can't tell as to whether or not this ball is played forward or it comes back.
The goal stands. Two different players in question, but right now LAFC have the answer. And all the onus falls on Sporting Kansas City to try to claw their way back into this final.
And once again, Mateusz Bogusz, his influence on the match. The scoreline overall for LAFC. An incredible journey that has been 2024 for Polish international.
And a yellow card issued to Olivier Giroud now. So a goal and a booking in just a couple of minutes' time.
He's had a couple of knocks tonight, Olivier Giroud, and that one right there. If it was continued infringement there for the referee on the last ditch effort on Eric Tummy.
Shallowy. The captain, Johnny Russell. And Eddie Segura leading it the entire way for LAFC. Player that Steve Cherundolo can implement in the middle of the field, play him as a number 6 as well as along the back line. Tad missed you there from Zoran Basong. And Olivier Giroud has now scored 2 goals for LAFC, both of them coming in finals, Devin.
We can talk about moments on the front line, but that moment right there by Chanot up through the midfield as Bogusz drops in on the far side, and then just the presence down underneath to quickly find these moments on the outside. What did I say to you? That the space has been there when they started to move forward. Cherundolo identified the fact that maybe they need 2 or 3 to break this Sporting Kansas City down. Tyler, sometimes the easiest method is the most direct, and in that situation, that's really the first time we've seen them be that clinical in nature. A to B to C, beautiful connection points.
I feel like that's the same approach that you take to your fashion as well.
Connection
Keep it
points.
simple. Simple and direct. Late challenge from Basong as Giroud continues to be on the ground, and now the Canadian is going to go into the book here.
Certainly late by Basong overall on the challenge on Olivier Giroud. I've done a very good job of keeping Jake Davis and Basong quite active in the midfield, not really allowing them any sort of consistency of output, at least in order to build through. That's why I did talk about leaning a little bit more on the outside of the field in those transitional moments.
FA Cups, Coppa Italia's, Coupe de France's, and now a U.S. Open Cup added to his resume for Olivier Giroud. And LAFC are looking to pour it on here and tack on some insurance. As Teddy Boanga's ball over everyone and everything. Devin, now if you're Sporting, how much changes in what you've been doing?
Well, you certainly need to find a little bit more balance within what you're trying to do moving forward. What is that? Well, a lot of this is predicated on the success on the outside due to the elimination of Davis and Basong on a regular basis. If you're coming into Polito, that little ball right there on the drop down into one of your holding midfielders has to be more consistent, but I think you got to find a way to get Johnny Russell more involved in this game. And because of the fact that we've seen Shallowy, it's become a little bit lopsided on the far side for Sporting Kansas City, then it's predictable. And for a defender, you recognize where those pressure points are coming from. You keep it in front of you, wait for that exact moment to step in, and then you come the other way.
Good recovery from Alan Polito because Sporting were exposed for a moment. And now LAFC is, as this is peeled back for Eric Tommy. And there's the leveler. Mr. Reliable for Sporting Kansas City gets the underdogs back into this final. It's 1-1.
Two key things coming into the second half, one of which we just hit. It was the involvement of Johnny Russell. The second was in those inverted moments, the half space just on the outside. You allow yourself numbers coming high with Kyrie Shelton.
What a peach of a ball that is by Johnny Russell.
Yes, the benefactor of the touch in the midfield, but how quickly he's able to make that decision to spread to the far side. First touch, beautiful, and Eric Tommy. Oh my Lord, what a touch that is. The tightest of windows on the deflection to beat Lloris at the near post. Incredible response by Sporting Kansas City.
Well, who saw that coming? Simple logic would tell you that LAFC, the heavy favorites, the team that can hurt you if you expose yourself. If they were to get the first goal, they might run away with it. Sporting Kansas City putting all that to bed and then some. And away we go again. 15 minutes into the second half, 2 goals, none to speak of in the first half. And now it feels like a final. Hollingshead. Buonga. Falls kindly for Buonga here. The nutmeg on Shelton. And then Davis sweeping in to make sure that nothing else too dicey would happen in the penalty area. But it is another corner for the black and gold.
Sporting get a little bit lucky there. Johnny Russell trying to be cute, playing out of the back, and the pressure that you had down in the corner.
Segura challenging. Bolivar coming over. Buonga.
Jake Davis. What a tackle.
Excellent tackle on Buonga, and he had to time it perfectly, knowing that Buonga would go down.
Tyler, you brought Jake Davis in the conversation earlier. His advancement within that holding midfielder position for Sporting Kansas City has been top-notch, right? You take a guy who, at one point in time, starting outside back for this, then you have the idea that you want to bring Kyrie Shelton into that conversation. Of course, they had Peyton Pierre prior to his departure to Genk in the Belgian First Division. And speaking to Jake Davis about his confidence, it's really a lot of it has come off his entrance into the Olympic conversation. It was his first national team camp, and he said, once I got there, I still didn't necessarily know if I belonged, even though the opportunity was there. But the second that I stepped into training, I knew that I belonged. That's given me the real belief that no matter who's around me, I have the ability to be successful. He has been an absolute stalwart in the midfield for Sporting.
I don't think many Sporting Kansas City supporters had Jake Davis and Zoran Basong starting in the middle of the field at a U.S. Open Cup final on their bingo card at the beginning of this season. Both given the lack of playing time for Basong and where Jake Davis started the season as Eric Tommy caught a late challenge. Peter Vermees not thrilled with it. Referee says play on for the moment. And then Shallowy taken down. Or was he? The referee's going to stop play. It will be a throw-in for LAFC. And now the ref is going to address the challenge on Eric Tommy, and it is going to result in a yellow card for Eddie Segura.
The argument here by Peter Vermees was why not stop it there, but I thought it was very well done by the referee crew allowing this advantage to play on. There was a little bit of contact on the backside by Eddie Segura, but Alan Pulido, as he come in, you have to let that play. You have to let them continue to have the advantage. It certainly did on the far side of the field. It didn't have support once it made its way there, but it is the right decision overall. Well done coming back to it. A little bit of contact on the right foot a moment ago, but what a glorious point it was just a few moments ago. Good pressure. Pulido known for playing off of him. This one he goes right through the black and gold. Johnny Russell's vision, Daniel Shalaway's patience to allow Eric Tommy to deliver, and certainly the precision by the German.
That's the understanding between Shalaway, Eric Tommy, and the front line for Sporting Kansas City, that when they are on, and Peter Vermees said that, he said, when we're at our best, we are a dangerous team. We just haven't seen it for long stretches, and very rarely have they seen it for 90 minutes over the course of what has been a very strugglesome 2024 campaign across all competitions. But when you take a look at the veteran leadership of the likes of Johnny Russell and Daniel Shalaway, particularly the latter as the homegrown product, now participating in his 19th U.S. Open Cup match as Eddie Segura continues to get treatment. Shalaway now has 8 goals and 10 assists in 19 matches in this competition. It's the most of any active player for Sporting Kansas City, more than Tim Melia, who of course is in his 11th season with the club. And it looks like 2 substitutions are getting set to come on here for LAFC as Steve Cherundolo is preparing to bring on Omar Campos and Kike Oliveira, Uruguayan international and a Mexican international.
Imagine giving him out the activity level on the far side. That would probably be the idea of maybe shifting to allow some more speed out on the width. The question is whether or not you want to do that and remove one of your wing backs or one of your center backs in order to do so.
Omar Campos, who started at the weekend in Frisco against FC Dallas, will replace Eddie Segura. Meanwhile, Oliveira, who has been battling third injury as of late, fit enough to play. And here's a look at what Olivier Giroud was able to complete tonight in about an hour's worth of play.
Courtesy of Mateusz Bogusz, and the adjustment by Olivier Giroud as quickly as they moved, slowing his body down to reposition himself, reaching back for it with all the pressure coming. A lot of pressure on Olivier Giroud. Now 10 matches for the black and gold, but his second goal in his addition to LAFC is certainly the most important one at this point in time, though. 20 minutes left on the clock for them to further that narrative.
So Olivier Giroud, still no goal in league play for the Frenchman, but 2 goals in both the U.S. Open Cup and the Leagues Cup, both coming in a final. And our first changes of the night made courtesy of Steve Cherundolo, and now we'll see Peter Vermees in short order answer what Cherundolo has thrown onto the field.
Just keep an eye at the little positional movement here for LAFC, moving Palencia a little bit deeper. You wondered as to whether or not they might try and shift into a 4, but the switch on Hollingshead, not surprising. Bringing Palencia deeper onto that back line into the 3 is not a normal move for Steve Cherundolo. We have seen it in latter portions of matches before.
Here is the $4 million signing Oliveira for the first time tonight. O'Brien trying to go back for the Uruguayan. It wasn't a bad idea, but angled too closely to Tim Melia. Olivier Giroud and Eric Tommy, your goal scorers thus far. Tyler Terrence, Devin Kerr, Jillian Sakovits with you here on Apple TV. And after a rather sluggish and slow start in the first half of play, the second half has certainly been lively. And Johnny Russell took a knock to the head, so that allows the referee Armando Villarreal to immediately stop the game and allow the athletic training staff to come on. And Johnny Russell has been taking a beating tonight.
The argument from SKC fans is that Johnny Russell takes contact. He actually comes up underneath Omar Campos, though. It's the problem. Have to go directly vertical in those situations. Well, obviously just making sure that the contact point right there is nothing major. Took him a bit to get going within this match. Both teams, to be fair.
To be expected at this point in the season, given how many games both teams have played, where we are in the calendar year for both sides, and also there's been a lot of midweek games as of late, U.S. Open Cup excluded.
Let's just say the emotional side of it for me with the players, Tyler, and you have a Sporting Kansas City team. Although I understand it's well documented, it's important to note that that's a massive letdown for them to be knocked out of MLS playoffs, right? And certainly with 5-6 games to go,
and coming off of what we saw at the end of 2023 as well.
Yeah, and there was the idea coming into this season. Peter Vermees said very surprised at the level that his team was performing at the beginning of the year, and that wasn't a good thing. Certainly the letdowns for LAFC within their cup finals, the last 5 matches. It's kind of one of those ones where you can look at it and go, okay, I get why it's a little bit slow. And then you turn around and think, well, it's been a little bit poor for them for the last month and a half as well. So it's not that surprising they're looking to get back.
This is good here from Sporting Kansas City. Here's the goal scorer, Tommy. One for the Canadian Basson. And now Johnny Russell. Lofting it in. Another hopeful ball.
That's a ball.
And it's in for Alan Pulido, who's looking for the curler.
I like that idea right now from Sporting Kansas City, though, trying to find a way just for Alan Pulido. Just in front of Chanot, off that right shoulder. You come in front of Palencia. That relationship with Sergi Palencia and Ryan Hollingshead, specifically in this back three. That's not a normal one with Palencia over there. Primarily in a more advanced position in a 4 or at that wing-back spot when they move into a 3-back.
Given straight back by LAFC. A reckless challenge by Omar Campos. That's his first involvement of the night defensively. And he's immediately going to go into the book of Armando Villarreal. First foul or no. Reckless abandon into the legs of Johnny Russell.
Just a little bit borderline from Campos. Wondered if his studs were up in this situation, and as aggressive as he was it violent? The answer is no. Tough to have his full footing. Certainly a yellow card. Almost looks like he tries to pull out of it, recognizing that Johnny Russell had the step on him. He's taking a beating tonight. The one on the thigh. That one just a little bit lower. Of course, the last time he was knocked down, immediately got back up. Beautiful service to the far side to Shallowy that created the game-time goal for Sporting Kansas City, courtesy of Eric Tommy.
Less than 20 minutes remaining. Johnny Russell stands over the free kick for Sporting. 5-1 underdogs coming into tonight. Went down 1-0 and with an almost immediate response. That was a dangerous ball into that corridor of chaos, and the chaos is dealt with for the time being by Maxime Chanot. And a corner for Kansas City. Pulido helps it along. It takes an awkward bounce, and Lloris quickly down to his left. O'Brien had a big switch for Mateusz Boguszan, but it would have been a Picture perfect ball on his off left foot that would have been required. O'Brien encouraging Oliveira forward. He's floated out to this left-hand side. The front three from left to right for LAFC now. Oliveira, Bogusz, and Bouanga.
Well, that's changing every 5 seconds, though. The amount of freedom that Steve Cherundolo is giving him. I'm just keeping an eye on Bogusz right now. They got to find a way to close some of this space within the midfield. Campos has done a good job inverting himself and providing an extra body. But 15, 20 yards between O'Brien and Tillman in the midfield. That's why Bogusz is trying to come deeper, trying to connect that link-up play.
Campos. Bogusz! And Milia stays big the entire way.
They got exactly what they wanted, even though the actual connection wasn't through Bogusz. Well done by Campos. The whole idea here is he continues to direct. He has to allow Kike Oliveira to come high because they only had one body in. The late runs on the back post weren't there yet. But Tim Melia, Mr. Sporting Kansas City, what an incredible moment in traffic.
Tillman, a free header, knocks it down, and eventually cleared away by Shallowy. Every moment now feels like it could be the moment. Less than 15 minutes to play. Bogusz, encouraging ball for Bouanga. Takes it on the first time, and the angle was cut off just enough by Volater and Tim Melia.
Mark of a good defender here from Volater. And you talked about the angle, Tyler, just the overall presence of a body to get in front of him. Beautiful run on the back shoulder. Castellanos doesn't see it coming. They've struggled a little bit over the past 10 minutes, and the separation between the two. Go back to Tim Melia. 4 yards out. Unreal. Tim Melia in that moment. And I would say this, for Bogusz, you have to do better there. You're 7 yards out alone with the goalkeeper, and it's right at him. Now, again, give credit to the goalkeeper, but you've got the entire 8x8.
Well, anytime Sporting Kansas City have won a trophy, they have had an elite goalkeeper in between the sticks, whether it was 2000 MVP Tony Viola, the White Puma Jimmy Nielsen helping them lift a 2012 U.S. Open Cup, and of course Tim Melia, who's already won this trophy twice. Tillman.
That's a mismatch on the far side with Tommy tucked in.
And Bogusz sees it. Hollingshead goes for goal as it takes a nasty deflection on the way in. And another corner here for LAFC as they continue to stack up. Sporting have done well to deal with these set pieces up until now, but you just feel the pressure mounting. Swinger from Bouanga. Won by Jake Davis. And shoulder to shoulder, says the referee. And Bouanga repaying the favor for the challenge we saw about 10 minutes ago inside the penalty area. Bouanga stood up by Kyrie Shelton, who merely could just stick out a leg and hope he got the ball. As Bouanga full steam ahead. And it looks like Tim Leibold and William Agata are getting set to come on for Peter Vermees. Davis trying to shape one out for Shallowy. Almost got over the head of Sheldon. And Castellanos for cover. Valencia. Oliveira. Yet to see him isolated 1v1 yet, as Hollingshead clips it in. And one and cleared by Sheldon. Tommy challenging for the header, and Chanot just let him fly by. Looked like Tillman had a run being made by Oliveira. Instead chooses Ryan Hollingshead, who's getting forward. O'Brien. And Buanga. And Campos. And Castellanos. Bogusz lining it up, and it was straight from the training ground, and the execution was almost there. And now we're going to see the double switch for Peter Vermees, as Leibold, like for like, replacing Logan and Dembe, who's had a phenomenal evening, and 81 minutes worth of hard work from the Belgian. And William Agata is going to replace Daniel Shallowy.
Well, this is going to force Eric Tommy onto that far left side, but the fresh legs and coverage by Leibold just underneath him. You have to gamble a little bit here. They fancied their chances on the road. Felt like it was a little bit more comfortable for them. That the noise surrounding what has been an unfortunate season for them in 2024 would not necessarily be directly in front of them. Solid shift by Logan and Dembe, coming back from injury. Certainly from Shallowy, just laboring towards the end of that.
So Agana, the 24-year-old from Nigeria, came up to the Maccabi Tel Aviv Academy. And Tim Leibold, the German, 30 years of age and silky smooth on the ball, and has a fantastic left peg as well. William Agata has had plenty of opportunities this year. 13 goals in all competitions, 12 of them coming at home at Children's Mercy Park, and just one on the road.
Let's see what it looks like for Ryan Hollingshead now, with the way that Eric Tommy is really going to force the issue off that left shoulder of his, trying to drag in the space to the inside, and whether or not Leibold is going to try and get involved as well.
Davis finding Russell. Aerial battle that William Agana is not going to win amongst the trees with Aaron Long and Maxime Chanot. And a crisp pattern here for LAFC. Deliveries away for Buanga. Castellanos was there. Bogusz. Broken up again by Castellanos, who's enjoying BMO Stadium and the bright lights of this final. Grew up about 40 miles away from where we are in LA. Native of Palmdale, California. Campos. Sidesteps Basong. And that one skirted all the way through, and it's Eric Tommy, the goal scorer, who's all the way back for defensive duties. O'Brien. Buanga. right there. And Amelia able to hang on, and there was really nobody in the black and gold kit to be able to stab that home. And let's go down to Jillian. Let's hear from those substitutions.
I spoke to SKC assistant coach Zoran Savage, who told me, one, I told Willie, hey, go score. But also in transition, he wants to see him putting pressure on those LAFC central defenders, but also for the substitutes to be mindful of LAFC's high line.
I would agree with the high line for sure. Obviously, you want really Agata to be aggressive on the front line. I think they have an advantage right now. The amount of running that midfield pairing of O'Brien and Tillman have had to do. You know, quickly that becomes a four-man conversation. The way that Eric Tommy can bring himself into the mix and is deep, as Alan Palou is going to be allowed to play for Peter Vermees in that false nine type role. And positionally, how can you take advantage of it, right? You go 4v2, you can turn it into a diamond real quick. It is something that they've had in their back pocket in the course of the season, slowly gaining momentum through. But again, cognizant of the fact that if it breaks down, real quickly you could have a Tim Leibold in a situation where he's matched up against an overlap of Hollingshead. You've got Bogusz coming through, or Denny Bouanga in transition. Well, it's Aaron Long, the one who's receiving treatment and who has halted the proceedings here at BMO Stadium. Long, of course, was on the field for that Red Bull side in 2017 that fell to Sporting Kansas City, the last trophy that the club was able to hoist, and the last time that they painted the wall. A great tradition at Children's Mercy Park to highlight the competitions won in the illustrious club's history. And a familiar face for Sporting, Ilie is taking off his warm-up kit and putting on his proper kit, and is going to make an appearance in this final. It is Ilie replacing Aaron Long, who limps off on this 109th final of the Lamar Hunt U.S. Open Cup. And Ilie Sanchez, a crowd favorite at Sporting Kansas City for so many years, onto the scene and now trying to rip a trophy away from a club that he once called home. And everything that we just talked about in terms of the overload centrally with the numbers, that's going to change now because you have Ilie who's going to pinch underneath. They'll flatten themselves out into a 4. Telling you that pairing on the back line though is still very interesting for me. I know it's not a 3 anymore with the departure of Segura. Valencia, as he comes in, now all of a sudden that Aaron Long is off right next to Maxime Chanot, just what it looks like. Hollingshead's obviously going to be deep. There's a lot of movement there that LAFC doesn't normally see in that group. One angle towards Oliveira, and Amelia has it covered. Aaron touch there from O'Brien, handled by Bassong. Tommy drops Hollingshead. Trying to keep the cross low, looking for Agata, and only finding a corner. Less than 2 minutes remaining in the 90. If you remain at 1-1, or if we remain level, we head to extra time. Lloris bats it away. Leibold circling back around. Russell being shown his right, and he takes it. And staying with it. Sporting not thrilled with the call on Russell, but LAFC will now try to take advantage of some space the other way. Bouanga. And the midfield starting to evaporate here.
Will either team flinch in the dying embers of this final? Bouanga up to his usual tricks. What a challenge from Tim Leibold. Still in the neighborhood here for LAFC. Bouanga broken up. Jake Davis tracked the runner the entire way.
If they're able to find a breakthrough here, it would be because of Denny Bouanga. Just incredible energy to try and force this team coming forward. But if you're Jake Davis, that moment right there, what a recognition it is by Jake Davis coming right up through the midfield. Just the closure of space. Beautiful tackle. Everything on the line, in from behind at an angle.
Half a dozen of stoppage time here at BMO Stadium. Bouanga on the turn. Nothing in that for a penalty. And then Davis in the direction of Tommy. 1v2 for the moment. Trying to stay on his feet, trying to retain possession, and he does win a foul.
That was the first touch by Aaron Tommy. That ball was wafted up. I'm going to tell you, the first one he slips, hits his hand. There's a whole lot going on in that sequence. Denny Bouanga on the other side. Nothing in it.
Shelton in a little bit of trouble. And Armando Villarreal motioning to Bouanga to get on his feet. Steve Cherundolo barking at the fourth official, Victor Rivas, looking for some help. Meanwhile, here's Sporting. Polito. Agata. Blocked by Ilie. Davis getting stuck in. O'Brien, a half-hearted clearance. And now Leibold. Russell in space. Johnny Russell, and handled by Hugo Lloris. And Sporting Kansas City, 2 minutes into stoppage time, knocking on the door. Is there a game winner in regulation? Bouanga around Shelton, but not through Amelia. Foul called against Agata. And Agata is still down. Looked like there might have been some contact away from the ball as Shino and Agata, the Nigerian, got tangled up.
Well, the first one's most certainly a foul. Arm away from the torso, and Willie Agata, Maxime Chenot. There is a love tap on the back end of this that does create contact as they're walking away from each other. Not so sure as to whether or not there was actually the type of power you need to put William Agata down on the ground. Again, just watch the right arm.
A little friendly love tap. A little more than halfway through the additional 6 minutes. Tommy and Olivier Giroud are your goal scorers. Can LAFC capture their first U.S. Open Cup, or will it be Sporting Kansas City claiming a record 5th title in this competition? Pollock said. Bogusz almost felt kindly for Bogusz there after the deflected pass from Tillman. Ilie in a nice pocket, trying to dictate, but giving the ball away. And savvy from Tim Leibold as he felt the pressure coming the entirety of the way from Kike Oliveira. Steve Cherundolo motioning to his team and telling his team, keep their head, no silly fouls and no silly mistakes. Here's the report from Jillian down underneath us as we are knocking on the door of full time in the 90 minutes. Any goal now would be a game winner, would be a trophy winner. Palencia wanted to go direct, and he's in up for Volader. Tommy has to scamper to keep it in play. And that's going to do it for the 90 minutes here in Los Angeles. The champion of this U.S. Open Cup will be decided at the bare minimum in extra time. 1-1 is the final score after 90. Olivier Giroud scored first, then the leveler from Eric Tommy in short order. And that's where we stand. Devin Kerr, your thoughts on the 90?
We went from fear to frantic pretty quickly there in the second half, and opportunities galore. Unfortunately, now the team was really able to anything special. About 20 yards and in. LAFC certainly has been the better one. I will say that, but there's just something about a belief in an organization in Sporting Kansas City that has had so much success over the course of this tournament, especially considering LAFC's downfalls recently.
So it will be an additional 30 minutes to try to decide what sort of history we're going to have, whether it be LAFC's first in this competition or Sporting Kansas City capturing a fifth. Both teams have had their say. We need more time to sort it out. Well, Los Angeles is typically known for just a bit of an extra dramatic flair to it, and that's exactly what we have here in this U.S. Open Cup final. Extra time to decide who is going to hoist the Lamar Hunt U.S. Open Cup. Sporting Kansas City and LAFC, nothing to separate them at the end of 90 minutes. We'll need an additional 30. And we also have a Kai Kamara sighting, replacing Lewis O'Brien and adding to the attack for Steve Cherundolo. Kai Kamara, of course, helping Sporting Kansas City to a 2012 title, registering a penalty in regulation and then eventually converting a penalty in the shootout. And this is the first U.S. Open Cup to head to an extra time since Sporting Kansas City won it in 2015 over the Philadelphia Union. This is the third time Sporting have gone to extra time in this tournament. First time for LAFC. Sporting, of course, prevailing over Union Omaha and FC Dallas in the additional 30 minutes. Alan Pulido and Danny Rosero providing the dramatics in those specific affairs.
I'd go a little bit further back to talk about the belief that was instilled in them in the 2-1 extra time win over Union Omaha, USL League One club. Peter Vermees talked about the amount of struggle that they had to endure on the night, but making the appropriate changes toward the tail end of that match really instilled belief for this club that at that point in time felt that they could get back into their domestic standings in MLS. And although it didn't pan out that way, I give a little advantage here to Sporting Kansas City. They've been through it here before. They've been through it historically. And again, we've addressed it a couple of times, but the failure in the previous 4 finals, it looms large in the back of LAFC's minds.
Well, not for the moment, it doesn't. Oliveira gets it away. And Buanga lost his balance on the way in. Hollingshead laid into the challenge on Tommy, and it was a bit of a hospital ball, and that's why they call it that. And Hollingshead into the book.
Hollingshead in a lose-lose in this situation because the read from Eric Tommy came so quick. Recognized he had the jump on him, but then he didn't have the support to try and play off him, so he actually smartly slows his run. It's very similar to what we saw in Tim Leibold on the far side of the field towards the tail end of regulation. If you don't step, Tommy's on the ball, acreage of space, and when you go, he goats you into it.
Well, won by Tommy Basong. Back for the German. Tommy got it away. Russell was waiting for seconds. No call from the referee. Now the foul is going to be called. And a couple of different head injuries to sort out between Bogusz and Russell. This is the second time Russell has taken a knock to the head tonight.
The understanding on one side for Eric Tommy. Russell is a little bit slow in his reaction times here. Mateusz Bogusz, what can you say about his value to this squad positionally? How he's challenged on a constant basis. Certainly the responsibility that Steve Cherundolo instills in him, regardless of location on the field.
Now let's go back down to Jillian, who was able to catch up with Peter Vermees during the intermission.
Peter Vermees obviously very satisfied that his team has been able to push extra time here on the road at a very difficult place to play. He said coming into extra time, SKC was pressing too high, and he doesn't want to see his team get into a running game with LAFC.
And while getting to this point, Devin, obviously is significant for Sporting, but perhaps now you're going depth for depth with LAFC, which on paper, LAFC is probably going to win that fight more times than not.
Well, your biggest asset that you have if you're Sporting Kansas City is being on the ball. It's not wide open play where you're going to go from end to end as quick as possible. That's exactly how LAFC want to play the game, right? And that doesn't mean you have to slow it down. That just means that you have to give yourself the ability with numbers when you start to move and go as a group. And that was something that they really struggled with at the beginning of this match. Certainly not as it evolved. really the final 5 minutes of regulation and the start of this extra time period. I've gotten back there. And the best they've been on the night is allowing the live olds, the Jake Davises, the Politos to get on, allow them to slow it at times and then strike.
Bolivar got stuck in, now angled towards the corner flag for William Agata. Watched closely by Chanot. Leaves it off for Tommy. Looking for an inch of space to pull the trigger. And shut down quickly. Davis, good looking ball for Agata, and it's just out of his reach.
That's good vision from Jake Davis. Just kind of get caught in a gray area if you're William Agata. It's not high enough for him to be able to really let it drop down and then go and chase. He's got too much air underneath it. Thought maybe the theatrical and vertical with the bike.
Well, Agata actually made his foray into North American soccer, making his debut in that famous 2022 semifinal against Mark Briggs in Sacramento Republic. Agata converted his penalty during that shootout against Sacramento and then was leveled by Malik Foster in the infamous reciprocal backflip from the Jamaican. As Johnny Russell goes down and earns the free kick. And the numbers certainly tell a story of LAFC having the better of the play, the better of the chances. But Sporting, as we knew they were going to do, scratching, clawing, and finding a way to stay in this final. Russell, met by Kamara. Of course, a $300,000 cash prize is on the line for either one of these teams should they lift the trophy. $100,000 to the runners-up, and neither team has to worry about CONCACAF Champions Cup because they both haven't wrapped up at this point. LAFC, by way of being a finalist in Leagues Cup, and Sporting Kansas City, by way of that fact, and taking the spot that is allocated to the U.S. Open Cup champion as it falls to Sporting Kansas City regardless of what happens tonight. Davis trying to switch the point of attack. Agata cuts it off. Basong. Castellanos trying to find Eric Tommy. Dealt with by Hollingshead. Almost a giveaway from Campos, able to atone for his sins momentarily. Probably the most patient we've seen LAFC tonight.
One of the problems they're running into, though, is you're getting a very similar look that you got for Sporting Kansas City at the tail end of regulation, but players on that front line occupying the same space. Tillman coming a little bit higher. He and Kai Kamara on the same exact lane. Kike Oliveira rotating into the same spots. And the idea there isn't bad. It's the execution. It's that you're trying to give yourself depth. You're trying to give yourself numbers. But they're both stacked right up next to each other. You negate both.
Hollingshead has Oliveira in support. Hillier. Better here from LAFC. Campos. Angle towards Kamara. Bowler won it. Bogusz. Tillman. Hillier brings it down. Oliveira circling around. Now Bouanga. Show too much of it to Basong. Some groans littered with impatience from the LAFC faithful opposite the 32-52. Does it feel like neither side really wants to make a mistake, whether it be LAFC giving the ball away or Sporting Kansas City showing any signs of a breakthrough?
Well, you know when you get yourself into these situations, the next breakthrough is usually the last. And that's statistically, you take a look at it and you're thinking, okay, well, I can overstep here, but what's the risk reward in those situations? That's also where you usually find the glory, though, the player that's willing to get out of the comfort zone. That's a ball.
Bouanga stays on his feet somehow. Oliveira. Campos. Still Campos! That might be it! That might be the moment! And it's Omar Campos who sends Bimo into a frenzy. 2-1 in extra time.
This is exactly why they brought him over from Santos. His ability in those advanced positions and the way that they utilized him in that system, actually quite similar. But watch the shape after this breaks down for Denny Bouanga. Never really fully regained defensively atop the 18. And as the ball comes back to the inside, it quickly turns into the 3v1. Heads forward facing the entire time. Not looking for that space atop the 18. Not quick enough to step into. Tired legs for Zoran Basong. The clever capability of the substitute Omar Campos. And what class into the bottom corner.
Omar Campos, 22 years of age, purchased for $5 million from Santos. A young man who would normally be a starting left back on almost every single club that Major League Soccer has to offer, but because of the wealth of talent at LAFC Sport, he's had to wait for his opportunity and wait for moments like this. A Mexican international who got his first call up by Tata Martino, of course, the head coach of Inter Miami. And now perhaps with the biggest goal for LAFC since Ilie's converted penalty in the 2022 MLS Cup. Can Sporting muster up another response? Russell. Well played by Leibold.
Recognizing just moments prior to the goal, Tyler, the special instances that players get out, right? And they chase the game a little bit further.
The bravery.
That was one for Campos. If you sit there and wait on a quick turnover, you're thinking defensively, if I don't go, I've got Kyrie Shelton who could bounce out. I've got Polito who's willing to step up into the midfield, and certainly Johnny Russell who can run at me. We take a chance. Campos comes high, provides the support, ball bounces out. And that's right now. The rest is history.
And the 32-52 is absolutely bouncing after this goal in extra time.
Just so smartly done by Campos. Look at the way he reads the space on the inside. Johnny Russell steps back in, pops back over the shoulder. The way the ball's kept down alive on the far channel. Clean first touch to get it out in front of him.
Hearing unconfirmed right now. 2 minutes of stoppage time at the end of the first half of extra time. Bit too adventurous from Eric Tommy. And covered by Palencia. LAFC want to foul on Jake Davis, who looked like he ripped down Tillman. Instead, it's Polito. The tackle was stood up by Palencia. And still Palencia. And now for rolling out. Away from Castellanos. And a bit angsty trying to find Denny Bwanga. Matty Bogusz was trying to join in on the fun. Davis. Tommy. Leibel. It's the German connection on this left-hand side. And again for Boliter. Crisp and clean movement on and off the ball here for Sporting. Russell desperately trying to turn. No way through. Davis. Kyrie Sheldon has Bwanga guessing. And now it's Sporting's turn to poke and prod. And a mistake here from Boliter. 3v2 of LAFC playing properly. Kamara. Bwanga running with him. And guess who? Jake Davis to the rescue. And that's going to do it for a frantic first half of extra time, particularly those last 5 minutes or so. Omar Campos right now is the hero. Still 15 minutes to be had. Devin Kerr, your thoughts on the first half of extra time?
Well, certainly moments for both teams, but as the game continued to open itself up, you're a little bit fearful. We'll use that word one more time for Sporting. I said the advantage was with them. Given the legs, given the change and the experience within the moment, they just weren't quick enough on the decision-making going forward, and LAFC was. Again, as they continue to move this line higher, the risk becomes greater, but you have to, right? You have to start to commit more numbers forward, given the lack of options they have been able to create on the front line tonight.
Well, there's been 105 minutes played, and we'll take a look as to how exactly we got here. First 90 minutes in regulation, Devin. It was LAFC with the initial breakthrough, and Olivier Giroud, who, of course, has since been substituted out with the goal.
All about that stout back line, the quick step right up through the middle for Maxime Chenot, and then just as quickly, distribution down into the corner. Still question as to whether or not that was in an onside position. VAR says yes, but the response 7 minutes later, ask for more Johnny Russell, ask for more numbers from Sporting Kansas City, ask and you shall receive. Eric Tommy in the 60th minute, courtesy of Daniel Shalaway, and it's 1-1.
3 goals in the last 3 games in all competitions for Tommy. And then LAFC would knock on the door in the first half of extra time, and it would be Omar Campos, the substitute, Devin, who moments ago you said somebody needed to be brave and step forward, and the young Mexican did just that.
As the movement comes for Bwanga, they did a good job of pulling numbers back, but they got a little bit flat, and then everybody started to face, and nobody really made a decision to step out. Great recognition by Omar Campos on the outside and his willingness to go and take that quick step, cut it across the body and into the bottom corner.
Well, this game in large part has been dominated by the home side, LAFC, as you can see from an XG standpoint, which again tells some of the story, not the entirety of it. But right now, LAFC, in terms of what they've been able to do on the ball, they are good for this lead at the moment. And as it stands, it will be LAFC hoisting their first trophy since they lifted MLS Cup in 2022. And that man is responsible for the lead. And we are going to have a couple substitutions from Peter Vermees. Memo Rodriguez, the wily veteran, comes on, as well as Remy Voltaire, who's been battling some injury demons this season. And this LAFC crowd is fired up. and perhaps sick and tired of the negative noise that has been surrounding their club. A club since 2018 that has taken North American soccer by storm. Supporter shields and MLS Cups, and perhaps for the first time tonight, a U.S. Open Cup. Buckle up, 15 more minutes of extra time. If Sporting Kansas City can find an equalizer, we will have penalties. But for the moment, it's LAFC with the advantage. Tyler Terrence, Devin Kerr, and Jillian Sakovits with you as we complete the final, potentially 15 minutes of the night. And again, just a friendly reminder, should it get to penalties, Sporting Kansas City might have the best weapon in that category in North America.
Well, you talked about Remy Voltaire trying to deal with some injuries over the course of the season. Memo Rodriguez was unplayable for a large portion that he was available for selection for Peter Burmese, but he too has really struggled getting into match fitness. The two of them together. Ground coverage, fresh legs for LAFC. Moments like this to eliminate.
There are those fresh legs in Oliveira as Remy Voltaire takes a stumble. Excellent recovery from Tim Leibold. And Jillian, what can you tell us from the LAFC huddle during the intermission?
He may no longer be on the field, but he was making himself very present in the huddle. Olivier Giroud going up and giving handshakes or hugs to every single player that is still out on this field. As for who led the huddle, that was former SKC man, Ilie Sanchez.
Well, not only a ungodly amount of talent on LAFC, but experience and know-how in moments like this as well. And that's to say nothing of the 40-year-old Kai Kamara. Polito. Tommy. And he wins a corner. Good looking in swinger, Luis. Two strong fists away. Voltaire back for Rodriguez. Battling with Palencia. And the Spaniard wins out.
He's been excellent, Palencia, over the course of the evening. His role has changed quite a few times. Again, turning at that wing back on the right flank when they were sitting in a three. And he dropped down in. With the departure of Segura and Aaron Long, running mate next to Maxime Chenot. Lockdown for Steve Cherundolo in the black and gold.
Castellanos. Omar Campos, the goal scorer in extra time. Alan Polito. Dangerous ball straight to the feet of Oliveira. Kamara holding things up for the home side. And now Hollingshead in the space for Bouanga. He'll be able to get there. Good looking ball. It's Kai Kamara! And the 40-year-old, for his 11th different club, might have just sealed an Open Cup. He has sealed an Open Cup. LAFC 3, Sporting 1.
It's just the understanding of the moment here for Kai Kamara. Look over the right shoulder. The Kyrie Shelton, the makeshift outside back. One of the biggest assets that he has, speed. The second, his aerial capability. He just doesn't recognize the positioning by Kai Kamara. Veteran experience. The quick little cut by Kike. The movement over the back shoulder right atop the penalty mark. Vintage Kai Kamara. Speed, pace, power, and what should be the Open Cup.
Well, each club that has rolled the dice on Kai Kamara over the past several years as he's gotten to the tail end of his career prayed, wished, and hoped for him to deliver moments like that. Tommy weaving his way through. Here's Agata, and it's blocked by Cheneau. Well, that certainly would have changed the feeling of the final 10 minutes or so. And the foul committed by Sporting. And now the LAFC supporters in the 32-52 and the sold-out crowd here at BMO can really start to taste it.
What a moment for Kai Kamara. And beautiful vision by Denny Bouanga. Sees it the entirety of the way. Had two options. Kike Olivera and Kai Kamara. And again, with the numbers that were spread out on that back line for SKC. The 40-year-old watched, waited for the precise moment to inject himself into this game. And oh, was it brilliant.
So Tillman comes off. The 29-year-old Marlon, recent acquisition, comes on. Brazilian making his first appearance, and Eric Tommy slowly limping off of the scene and being replaced by Stephen Afrifa. And listen to this crowd. Shrugs off Russell. And a foul committed by LAFC.
Just have to maintain belief here if you're Sporting. So many of these players have been in such prosperous positions over the years, coming oh so close so many times. Still plenty of time left.
And the whistle in favor of Sporting. One goal, one crazy moment here will force you to buckle up for the remainder of the game, but Sporting need to generate that moment if they are to have any hope of salvaging this season. And that's what tonight has been all about for this club. Russell lofts it in. Afrifa trying to bring it down. The ball for Memo Rodriguez. And that'll run out of play for a goal kick. And who would have thunk 12 years after Kai Kamara helped Sporting Kansas City win a U.S. Open Cup with 2 penalties that he would rip the trophy away from them a dozen years later. On the turn, stalked by Sergio Palencia, and now Sporting. Devin seemingly running out of ideas.
Also, some of the emotion coming in as well, not just the ideas, but the fear of another letdown of what could be. And there's still time here. There's just over 5 minutes to go. Game goes in this fashion, there is going to be more space. You just have to have some sort of positive mentality, and it feels like no one's really willing to step up right now and give them that push. Amelia is active, yes, but everybody else, Johnny Russell's exhausted, rightfully so, on this near flank, not very vocal right now. Haven't seen much. Again, we're just talking conversation from Polito, from Anagata.
Not only a trophy within touching distance, but perhaps a moment to revamp their season heading into the final stretch of league play and, of course, into the postseason. Afrifa perhaps waited one bounce too long to pull the trigger. Valencia felt like he took a little bit of a late shot there from Afrifa and slowly getting to his feet. Rodriguez trying to find Polito. Palencia away. Heavy legs setting in. And that, of course, will always mean, in direct correlation, tired minds. Driven in towards Agata. Russell hoping for it. Campos scurrying away from William Agata. Campos still going and eventually sees the door slammed shut by the Frenchman Remy Voltaire. And then a late challenge from Agata. But the referee says play on. Leibold well behind Afrifa. And look at Kai Kamara. Riling up already. A raucous crowd here at BMO. Less than 2 minutes remaining now as Oliveira commits the foul. Amelia finding Russell, and that's a good ball. At least asking the questions of Omar Campos. Voltaire got the cross away. Chenoa glancing header. And Ilie, dazzling skill to get out of trouble. And a yellow card for Memo Rodriguez at the end of that. And Devin, how difficult is it to manage the emotions on the winning side of this right now?
Massive, and that's really been one of the biggest issues that they've been dealing with. And how do you find a way to get that breakthrough? Maintain belief, for sure. I think more so about the idea of Steve Cherundolo and game management, staying positive, right? Not thinking about mistakes that have been made throughout the match, the goal given up, the lack of decisions, but the fact that you're still able to create special moments. Keep it simple, one foot in front of the other.
How about the effort from Kai Kamara? And now LAFC really flexing towards the tail end of extra time. Kamara dragging it to the corner, daring someone to step to him. And we are going to have 2 minutes of stoppage time. 120 seconds until LAFC can officially start the party here in Los Angeles. Polito got in some space and took it on the first time, and never challenging Lloris. Less than 60 seconds to play now. And LAFC can confidently say now that they have put the ghosts of finals past to bed, with the help of a 22-year-old and a 40-year-old in extra time. Russell. Can Sporting salvage something? Omar Campos says no. That's it! LAFC are champions again! And for the first time, the Lamar Hunt U.S. Open Cup will boast the black and gold! Well, it wasn't pretty, and it perhaps took longer than some expected tonight, but LAFC finally get that monkey off their back since 2022. And that trophy cabinet extends just a bit further here in Los Angeles. We will have post-game and the trophy presentation when we come back from BMO Stadium, where the final score is LAFC 3 and Sporting Kansas City 1 in extra time. Full time here at BMO Stadium, where LAFC capture their first U.S. Open Cup, and Jillian Sakovits is standing by with the legendary Kai Kamara.
I'm down here with Kai Kamara and his family. Kai, you won the Open Cup 12 years ago with Sporting Kansas City. You win it here tonight with LAFC. How's this one different?
Oh my God, it's different because now I got kids. Look at them, they can witness this, you know. Yes, the journey started over there, but this is my home. This is LA, and I'm so happy to be part of this club. And not only that, to be part of history like this, you know, the first Open Cup trophy for this club, and I can't be more happy.
What did LAFC say tonight, Kai?
You say what? Sorry?
What did LAFC say tonight?
Oh my God, I mean, it hasn't been good in the past 5 or so games, so we knew, you know, coming into this one, this is the turnaround that can take up into the playoffs. And that's what we wanted to do tonight in front of our home crowd. And I mean, they turn up. These guys flew in from Kansas City this morning. They just got here, and finally they made it on time, so I love it.
A school night, 40 years old, Kai Kamara. What's the secret?
I got these guys to keep me young. You know, I love it. Seriously, I'm home. I'm over here. This club, seriously, they're treating us so well. One of the best I've been at, so I'm just grateful.
Congratulations.
Yeah! Come on, let's put that on.
The unbelievable story of Kai Kamara continues. What can he do at 40 years of age? Steve Cherundolo saw a 22-year-old in Omar Campos help him take the lead on one end of BMO Stadium, and then Kai Kamara scored on the other to make sure that they could get their hands on that. The Lamar Hunt U.S. Open Cup for the first time in club history. And Devin, what a roller coaster of an evening. I mean, in terms of Eric Tommy's leveler after the Olivier Giroud goal, going to extra time, seeing Sporting knock on the door, come close to potentially taking the lead, and then LAFC showing their talent, showing their depth, and showing their experience when it mattered most.
I would say it wasn't the cleanest of nights for either team.
No.
Either, right? And yet still trying to find a way to create success. Look, there's no question on talent for either side within this match. If you start with LAFC, right, and just look at what they were able to create as the match went on. You know, tactically, Steve Cherundolo made a multitude of changes. Personnel, Palencia, right? Campos, of course. The Kai Kamara thing is an interesting one for me, and it brings the whole circle together. And the reason I say that is him talking about the opportunity with the club. And while certainly it's their third goal, and that's great, I'm reminded of a conversation we had in June of last year when he was with the Chicago Fire. And it was about, from Ezra Hendrickson, special moments that he could create, how he was so positive. That's basically the same exact message that Steve Cherundolo has been trying to convey to his group over this tough stretch. Finally, breaking through tonight with the Open Cup final victory.
And Jillian is standing by with Olivier Giroud.
Olivier, you have been in Los Angeles less than 2 months, and you make your mark here tonight, bringing the first ever Open Cup trophy to LAFC. What does it mean?
Well, I came here, as I said, to win trophies and to play that kind of finals. I was really sad, disappointed for the team regarding the League's Cup. I really wanted to make it for my first start, and yeah, today, you know, we've been in a difficult run this last weeks, but we stick together, and we really wanted to win this trophy for these fans, amazing fans, for the club. This kind of moment, you know, that's where when you see a team stick together, you know, who really committed to win that kind of final, you know, it does matter, you know, it counts a lot for me, for the boys, and I'm so happy to score in this final and to help the team. Yeah.
What now for LAFC?
Well, now this game needs to give us a lot of confidence for the rest of the season. Obviously, we want to finish strong the to get the best position for the playoffs, and yeah, we need to build the good momentum from there.
Thank you, Olivier.
Thank you.
There you have it from the all-time leading goal scorer for the French national team, World Cup winner. And Steve Cherundolo continues to celebrate. Now, Devin, you heard from Olivier talking about that this needs to be a moment where LAFC can crack on and then show everybody what they're capable of doing in league play and heading into the postseason. I know it wasn't the prettiest of games tonight from LAFC, but are you convinced that they can turn the script a little bit in terms of league play and show their good form heading into the most important part of the domestic season?
Confidence is a crazy asset, right? And the ability to showcase your character with something that was certainly on display tonight for an LAFC team that, I'm telling you, I've been there before where it doesn't go your way, and then a second and a third. You know, once is a situation, twice are instances, and then it's a pattern, right? And it's very difficult to pull yourselves out of those moments. What confidence will do for this group moving forward? We said form and momentum. You just gained it out of the last 120 minutes. So regardless of what the overall performance looked like, you achieved your goal. This is a club that is built on winning trophies, plain and simple, regardless of circumstance, and they did that tonight. Now you take that, you apply it, you give yourself the ability to continue to evolve as a group in whatever window that might be and chase the next one that's in front of you, and it's certainly pretty close.
Well, Carlos Vela, of course, just recently brought back, hasn't played just yet, but gets to enjoy another trophy with the club that he made his mark on, as we will step aside for the public address announcer for the trophy presentation.
Welcome to the trophy ceremony for the 2024 Lamar Hunt U.S. Open Cup. In a moment, we'll be welcoming the champions of this year's tournament. First, please welcome U.S. Soccer President Sidney Parlow-Cohen, U.S. Soccer CEO and Secretary General J.T. Batson, Major League Soccer Commissioner Don Garber, Sporting Kansas City co-principal owner Michael Illig, Sporting Kansas City CEO Jake Reed, LAFC lead managing owner Bennett Rosenthal, LAFC co-managing owner Larry Berg, LAFC co-managing owner Brandon Beck, to the stage to present the match officials with their medals, referee Armando Villarreal, assistant referee Justin Howard, assistant referee Jeffrey Greason, fourth official Victor Rivas, fifth official Mike Nickerson, joining the officials from Arlington, Texas, are VAR Jose Carlos Rivero, and now, please welcome the 2024 Lamar Hunt U.S. Open Cup runners-up, Sporting Kansas City. Please welcome to the stage your 2024 Lamar Hunt U.S. Open Cup champions, Los Angeles Football Club. Your 2024 Lamar Hunt U.S. Open Cup champions, Los Angeles Football Club.
LAFC will go through the rounds and allow everybody to get a piece of some hardware that they have been longing for. The Lamar Hunt U.S. Open Cup, and officially they can say that they are champions of this competition. We'll hear from Steve Cherundolo, and we'll have our final thoughts when we come back here from BMO Stadium as the celebrations continue. LAFC winners of the 2024 Lamar Hunt U.S. Open Cup. Welcome back to BMO Stadium, where the celebration has only just begun for LAFC. Yes, they do have Cincinnati on the weekend, but right now they can relish in the fact that they are U.S. Open Cup champions. Olivier Giroud, Campos, and Kai Kamara, the goal scorers, to deny Sporting Kansas City their 5th title in this competition, which of course would have been a record. Again, Tyler Terrence, Devin Kerr, and Jillian Sakovic with you for this epic moment and for this truly amazing tournament and the conclusion of the 2024 edition, which was the 109th, as now Olivier Giroud and company will issue a statement to the 32-52. But for now, let's go down to Jillian, who's standing by with the head coach of LAFC, Steve Cherundolo.
Steve, a first in the cabinet, the U.S. Open Cup. What does this one represent for LAFC?
Yeah, it's the first of its kind for LAFC, so it's something that the club will always remember. You always remember your first, and I think it's really important for us to continue to win and in multiple competitions, and that was our goal at the beginning of the season. We've got one, we have a shot at maybe another one, and we're going to give it our go.
To be able to score 2 in extra time, what does it say about this side?
Well, I think it speaks for the first half. Well, we went out and really pushed the tempo, knowing that there might be advantages later in the game, and I think that's what you saw in the end.
How much do you feel like, you said you were seeing glimpses of it in the past 2 months, that Olivier Giroud is settling into his new squad?
Yeah, so he's had 2 really big chances tonight. One he finished. I think if we left him on longer, he would have got another chance. He knows where to be. He knows how to finish. And so slowly but surely, we'll have our goal scoring 9 for sure to Olivier, and being able to sub on a Kai Kamara and move guys around like Kiko Oliveira just makes us very dangerous down the stretch as well.
What now for LAFC, Steve?
Win as many MLS games as possible at the end of the season, and then put ourselves in good position for the playoffs and make another run at it.
Congrats, Coach.
Thank you. Thank you.
The black and gold will enjoy this one, as Steve Cherundolo said. The first of its kind for the club in 32-52, have been through a lot since the inception of this club, but they've enjoyed a lot of wins, a lot more than a lot of clubs in this country. And now they get to celebrate the country's ultimate prize in the U.S. Open Cup. And getting to a final, Devin, has been almost an expectation for this group. And at least for the moment, they can put some of those demons to bed.
Now 2 of 6, right? But most importantly with the win. And, one of the things that I want people to recognize is in the modern world that we live in, people are so quick to crown a team, but also so quick to be dismissive in nature. I'm not sure there's a better representation of what this team has gone through in the last 18 months than what was the spring of 2023, some of the letdowns, and now 2024. Coming off the Leagues Cup final and the loss to the Columbus Crew, you needed belief. This is still an organization that's 7 years into their inceptions, right? They've won MLS Cup. They've won Supporter Shield. They've won the treble. 9 individual acknowledgments after tonight on the Open Cup for this squad that continues to build and build and build. So we just respect what they've built, but continue to do, even though sometimes aren't necessarily things are going your way, you still find a way that, based on the beliefs and core values that John Thorrington has helped instill in this club, as well as everybody else that's been involved with it, to go find success. That is what you need to pay attention to tonight.
Well, whether it be 22-year-old youngsters from Mexico who they purchased for $5 million, or a 40-year-old veteran, LAFC continue to show that they are one of the best that North America has to offer, and they officially established themselves as champions of the United States. Our final score from Los Angeles: LAFC 3, Sporting Kansas City 1. For Devin Kerr, Jillian Sakovic, and our entire crew here at Apple TV and U.S. Soccer, this is Tyler Terrence. Thank you for watching the U.S. Open Cup on Apple TV.